Parents and caregivers have a tremendous role in a child and people's mental health. Attachment theory will help explain why. So now, if anyone has been around little kids for a period of time, you can tell how much they pick up on in their surroundings from those that are around them. They often may cling to their parents or caregivers, or be tearful or have tantrums if their caregiver acts or does not act in a certain way. Attachment theory first began to be evaluated in the 20th century by psychoanalyst John Bowlby, who observed that the mother-child relationship was essential for human development and one's interaction with people later in life. Attachment with the caregiver provides the infant with this notion of security, and it helps ease their anxiety and distress. One example that shows the importance of this attachment theory is Harlow's experiment in the 20th century when he took monkeys and isolated them from birth so they could not form attachments with other monkeys. This led the monkeys to be withdrawn, unable to relate well with peers or mate with others, and they could not care for their offspring. Psychoanalyst Mary Ainsworth further builds on this attachment theory, suggesting that yes, there is this level of secure attachment, but there's also 3 types of insecure attachments. Infants may avoid their caretakers, they may be ambivalent or not care if their caretaker is around, or third, they may act in a bizarre way if their caretaker is involved. And so there's various reasons why this may happen. It could be that the parent or caregiver is being abusive to the child. Maybe they're not meeting the child's needs. Or other reasons could be that the caregiver or parent is just too ill to care for the child. Perhaps they're not present there emotionally. Maybe they have been incarcerated for a significant amount of time and not part of the child's life. Or perhaps they even die prematurely. All of these can affect the infant or child's attachments with their caregivers and other people as well. If a child does not have a secure attachment with their caregiver, then that is going to correlate with relationships with other people also. So initially it was thought there wasn't really a solution or a cure for this, but over time it began to thought maybe it depends on the length and severity of the distress that the child or infant is experiencing. This ability to form attachments with people is especially important in clinical therapy. And one who hasn't been able to formulate good attachments in life growing up, they're not going to be able to form a good attachment with a therapist in clinical therapy. However, a good clinical therapist and therapy training can actually help fill the void of someone who has not had those good attachment growing up. So actually a good therapist can help someone form a good attachment, and that in turn will help them to be less anxious, help the patient to be less distressed, and help them to be more confident and take more risks in their life. Another approach I think is important to look at is the spiritual approach. There are several stories of saints and holy people who have lost their parents at a young age. And when looking for those attachments or caregivers, they often find it in the holy people in the Bible or people at a local church or perhaps monks or nuns. For example, someone who lost their mother growing up calls on the Virgin Mary to help them be like their heavenly mother and help them not only for the heavenly life, but also for this life on earth as well. I believe it was one of the saints, Saint Cyprian, who was a bishop of Carthage in the 3rd century, who says, "He who does not have their church as a mother does not have God as their father." So I think many times if someone doesn't have a good relationship with their parents or caregivers growing up, church can provide that good relationship. God as the father, church as the mother. Because look, people are human, people make mistakes, parents may not always be there, caregivers may not always be around or supportive, friends may not be trustworthy, but one thing that is true and everlasting is the relationship with Jesus Christ. People at church may have their own faults, may have their own weaknesses, so I won't put too much trust in them necessarily, but really what one should trust is that relationship with Christ himself. I think ultimately that relationship will help one to fully trust and have a secure attachment, not only for this life, but the life to come.